And welcome again to Amateur Hour here on CKUW 95.9 FM in Winnipeg, your source of the weird, the wild, the wonderful, where bad is good and worse seem better. Today we'll be chatting with Lee Rosevere, who you should know as a periodic fill-in host on this program. A lot of amazing shows were the brainchild of Lee Rosevere. A lot of the content that we played on this particular show came from Lee Rosevere. I simply could probably not do this show justice without him. He's been a huge part of the show and has been a really great friend to nerd out with regarding, weird and wild content. We exchange stuff, we, send things to each other, and we really haven't, done a face-to-face kind of interview. We've done phone interviews before talking about his now defunct label Happy Puppy Records, but we've never really done, like a full interview kind of reminiscing about some of the best shows that he's put together and some of the content he's come up with and some of the music he's produced that we've featured on the program as well. So we thought maybe now is the time, now that we're all in quarantine doing a lot of these Zoom interviews. I thought I'd give him a ring. So that's what we're going to do. So, without further delay, here is my interview with Lee Rosevere, and we're going to take you through all the amazing stuff that he's introduced you, the listener, to over the years. It's going to be a lot of fun, so come with us on the Lee Rosevere Tribute Show, Amateur Hour, CKUW 95.9 FM in Winnipeg. Wow, this took like 10 years too late, but
yeah,
that's
okay.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thanks for coming on. Anyway, this is awesome.
Oh, no problem.
I've been wanting to interview you for. Well, I think we did before, like years ago. We might have done a little thing.
Yeah,
just about.
We've done a couple on the phone before, but that was a while ago.
I don't know, there's so much stuff I want to talk about, so it's really hard finding a way in, but maybe just kind of an origin story, if you can spin us a tale of how you got interested in music and radio and just kind of where did you start?
Well, radio's been a love for a long time, since I was a little kid, taping stuff off the radio and singing along with it, and then I've always wanted to be a radio DJ, and I guess I work at CBC, so that's the closest I'm ever going to get. It's great, and it's great. I have like all the power to play not any music I want, of course, but it's a lot of fun to do that. And making music, I've always played drums first. That's been my main instrument. That's what I'm best at. But that's the thing I haven't touched probably the most in a number of years. Just because it's easier to use loops now and samples, just because getting a decent drum sound is difficult, and I don't have a great setup for that. But yeah, drums first, and then started noodling around with keyboards in the late 80s when I was just out of high school, and anything I could get my hands on, basically. So yeah, it's just, I have no formal training to do any of it. It's just sort of like make noise until I find something I like and go with it.
I've been really interested in how kind of the progression of the music that you've been making too, because like before I was really a fan of like Fudge and like some of the band stuff and a whole bunch of things that I could hear on Happy Puppy Records, but more recently your instrumental work, everything from the synthwave stuff you've been doing, like the Mallwave album we used for an amateur hour, to all this amazing podcast music that I and others, like I don't know, I think Criminals play, like there's a whole bunch of podcasts that have used your music in the background because it's such great instrumental music. How did that kind of grow? Because you're so prolific, it's crazy how much music you produced. I gave money to your Bandcamp to buy your complete discography, which is totally a huge bargain basement price and should have paid more for it. And I ended up doing it again because you produced so much music since I've done that.
Yeah, I'm thinking of starting the subscription thing on Bandcamp because I keep posting an album probably at least once a month, and everybody has to. I feel guilty of people rebuying the discography every year just to get like everything again. So the subscription should probably take care of that. I haven't gotten quite into that yet, but yeah, no, the music's been different. It's changed a lot because I get bored very easily, and I just like to do different things and mess around with different ideas and just try stuff out, see if it works. If it doesn't, move on to something else. The older stuff, like the Fudge stuff, was just me doing the cover songs. All that stuff was mostly recorded in the 90s. And Screaming White Jefferson was also done in the 90s. And I just put all that stuff out there just to have it out there because it was all sitting on tapes and never went anywhere. There was no real interest in it at the time. And then the stuff I've been doing lately is just like, yeah, well, I don't think I can sing. So I've been messing around with more and more plugins and virtual instruments. And I just enjoy making that stuff. And if I don't make a full song, like start and finish a full song within one day, I feel like I've wasted my time. So that's why there's so much stuff. And it's also a great method of relaxation for me to just kind of unplug, go offline, not look at internet or social media for like 8 hours, and then just keep like plugging away at music until something's done. And I can mostly do that on the weekends since I don't have time weekdays after work.
Yeah, it seems you're more focused on the music now than the now defunct label. I know we briefly talked about it before, but yeah, if you want to talk about what happened with Happy Puppy Records, that's good too.
It got to the point where I was hand coding all the website pages, and that just felt like such a chore after a while to write something about the album. And like, even if it was one of mine, I didn't want to write anything about it at all. I just wanted to put it out there, but you still had to like review page and then put a news release or a tweet or something about it. And all that just felt like so much work. And I was doing the bare minimum. It felt like too much work. So I kind of stopped posting stuff and just started releasing just my stuff and never really announcing it or making a big to-do and just like, well, it's here, here's another one, here's another one, here's another one. And just because I wanted to make the music because I was enjoying making it, but I didn't want to promote it and I didn't really want to talk about it. So that got a little better, but for a while there it wasn't fun. If I just focus on having fun with the music and doing that, great, I'll just do that. And then as it turns out, other factors got involved, like Shaw, which I was with at the time, decided to delete all their free web space that they were giving people. So, which I was using. It wasn't free. I was paying for it, but they decided to take it away. And it's like, great. Now what do I do? So I made the Free Music Archive my main page. And then I guess a year later they shut down. Because they lost all their funding.
They've shut down 4 or 5 different times, and been shuffled over. Yeah, it's just an unstable platform at this point.
So Bandcamp is where everything lives now.
Well, the advantage of Bandcamp is there's no limit on how many albums you can put up there, right? Like if there was, it's probably you.
Me, or if Jandek ever got on Bandcamp.
Oh yeah,
they'd have a day. That first day. They were a little bit. I was running out of downloads pretty quickly there. Unless you make a certain amount of money on Bandcamp, they only give you 200 downloads a month when you first start. And if you run out, then everything reverts to a paid amount, which is not great. But after the first year of being on there, I was starting to get enough money that they would start giving me more download credits. Yeah. So it wouldn't run out, and so which was great. And then they started the discography thing, which helps it along. I don't make a lot of money on Bandcamp, but enough to keep using it and keep being able to post stuff for free mostly. In fact, the most amount of money I've had last year was from streaming services, which surprised me, mostly because of all the ambient meditation albums I've been doing.
Yeah. Well, people really like that for a pinch when I need something in the background, and I've listened to Brian Eno Airports for the millionth time. I usually go with stuff.
But according to the Spotify stats that I've seen, a lot of women between the ages of 18 and 35 are listening to it mostly Monday to Friday. So I think that's like the work, they're at work obviously, and they need a break, and they go listen to 5 minutes because it's perfectly timed to 5 minutes, which was the whole idea behind it, that, you don't even have to look at the clock. When 5 minutes is up, then you can go back and do what you need to do. Or if you want 15, you play 3 of them, So that turned out to be a bigger hit than I ever imagined. But and that's where most of the revenue comes from. So, which is great. I mean, I love doing the ambient meditation stuff because I like it for myself as well, because it's very relaxing to make.
Can we kind of go back, because I kind of want to go through the litany of shows that you've been responsible for Amateur Hour, and how much I've borrowed from the collection and found stuff that I didn't even know existed. I don't know where to start. I think one of the greatest things for me is building up the legend of Screaming White Jefferson, which we did for the longest time. And everyone thought it was real, and everybody thought the backstory was there. Like, it was amazing. And it went for like years, and people were like, because we had that one tape, Screaming White Jefferson tape at CKUW, and it was passed among producers like constantly. And I tell them the tale.
Jetpack! I'm a jetpack! Jetpack! I'm a jetpack! 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 A jetpack! I'm your jetpack, honey! I'm a little piggy for that stuff! I'm a jetpack! Give me all that you got! Tie me up! I'll be a little star, honey! Jen, piggy, piggy! Jen, piggy, piggy, piggy! Oh, honey! Jenny, piggy, piggy! Tie me up. I'm just a darn soul for that stuff. Ow!
See that I love that, because that I remember we talked about it briefly before. It's like when I did that as a complete joke, because I came across a Smithsonian recording of Blind Lemon Jefferson, and I thought it was, hey, wouldn't it be funny if we did this? And like did the tape in like a half an hour, basically, as long as it took to record it, and sent it to the Winnipeg Free Press, and that was it. And then maybe I put a few copies in Sam the Record Man when he used to have an indie section, and nobody bought it. So the only copy that I knew that were out there was from Winnipeg Free Press. Somehow that copy must have ended up at CKUW.
Yeah.
And I only found out you were playing it because you logged it with SoCan, which I got a very nice royalty check from SoCan. I said, "Oh, what's this for?" And I looked it up, and it's like, who is playing Screaming White Jefferson?
This guy.
Like, what the hell? Like, nobody's even downloaded it off my Bandcamp. So I didn't I don't know where you got it from. And I was just completely, and then I did some searching and found out that it was you, and then you had the tape, and then we connected that way. But the fact that you've been playing it for years, and it's like, I had no clue whatsoever.
Not only that, it's just the story too of just like, so you get the guy was like an Alan Lomax guy that recorded it in a barn by a service station in Saskatchewan, and like the old blues show, the host of that like just played it too, and he was just like, "This is real." And everyone bought it, and I was like, "No, this is like, I know in the back of my mind, but I'm like, I'm just gonna keep playing this up because this is just amazing."
Yeah. I'm a Friday, you baby. You ain't tie me up good night. Wrap me up in your wicked white, you put me on a stick. Shut! Hit me at your heart, baby. Bounce me out like a toy. Don't know my up from my down. What can I say? Oh boy. You got me on a section. Section. Section, baby. You got me on a section. Yeah! Oh yeah! Woo! Now they be bothering me. Slap my love across the sky. Spin me around and do it again. I never think to ask why. Bow back in your head. You pull me back for another shot. Oh, I fell into your love. Without a net, you caught me in a slingshot. You got me in a slingshot. You got me in a slingshot. A slingshot, baby. You got me in a slingshot. I'm sad that people actually found out the truth. I mean, I would just be like, it would be nice if they had just
kept believing it was real. We did a thing when I worked at CBC and DNTO. We had Ross Porter do an April Fool's show, and I gave him Screamin' White to review.
Oh, wow.
And he basically lifted everything out of the liner notes and wrote a column out of it. And we played it. And then I got one email from a guy somewhere in BC at the time, and who really wanted a copy of the tape. So I sent him a copy of the tape, and he thought it was real too. And then a couple of years later, he clued into the fact that it wasn't real and got very upset. It's like, well, I said, well, I never said it was real. It's like, I don't know. I thought there were clues to make it out like it was a little bit too ridiculous, but I guess they didn't pick up on it. But I thought it was just, I played it for some guys, and he goes, no blues record I've ever heard sounds that bad in terms of recording quality. And like the fake vinyl crackle that sounds bad too. So it's like it was totally overdoing it.
Ow! My birthday go, ow! My birthday go, ow! My birthday go, baby! My birthday go, baby! My birthday go, baby, 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 baby! Baby! My birthday go, baby! My birthday go, mama! Mama! My birthday go, mama, 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 mama! So! My birthday go, please! Ah! My birthday go, please! Please, please, please! My birthday go, please! Please! Oh! My brother in my drama. My brother in my car. My brother in my home. My brother in my guitar.
You're listening to Amateur Hour here on CKUW 95.9 FM in Winnipeg, your source of the weird, the wild, the wonderful. Today, the wonderful Lee Rosevere. He's periodically filled in on this program for years now and just done some humdingers of shows. We're going to go through some of those classic shows for you, play little excerpts of them. But now I think let's talk about a little more about the Happy Puppy record days, because Lee was also instrumental in preserving lots of great, weird, wild, and very important kind of community access music, as you'll hear in this next segment about the Cosmopolitans.
I want to talk a little about how you were instrumental in preserving the legacy of the Cosmopolitans too. The great VPW twosome that we'd see on late night VPW cable access station in Winnipeg. How did you stumble across them, and how did you get those songs and have them agree to release them as an album?
Well, I came across them the same way everybody else did when VPW was still a thing. It was just tuning around, see what's on VPW. Because I had a show, I was a part of a show on VPW a long time ago, Youthline with Christopher Boyce, who used to be with the CBC, who's now with a podcast company out in BC called Pacific Content, that do branded podcasts. Anyway, Chris and I were members of his Youthline show. So I was always aware of VPW because I worked there, but then there was also the Pollock and Pollock Gossip Show was very big at the time.
Amazing.
I have a snippet on a videotape somewhere of, you had him on the show just recently.
Johnny Sizzle?
Johnny Sizzle. He did he had a TV show back then.
Entertainment Watch, yeah.
I didn't know who he was. I only caught the interview halfway through. He was interviewing some metal band, and they had the big hair and the guitars and everything, and it was just I wish I'd recorded more. There's literally only 2 minutes of the surviving of that tape. But it was the same thing with the Cosmopolitans. Whenever I'd be switching around and go, the Cosmopolitans are on. I watched more shows than I recorded. And at one point I said, I wish I was starting to record these things. So one time it was on, I grabbed the cassette tape and threw it in and got the audio straight off the TV of 2 of those episodes. And then suddenly came across them when I was doing Happy Puppy, and just looking for kind of out there little weirdo type things to put out, to just kind of for a while there I was wanting Happy Puppy to be an archive label of sorts, to put out really obscure stuff that some people might remember but just should be preserved, and they were one of them. Reached out, and Marion was still alive. I found her email address because she had just written the book, and there was some event at McNally Robinson that she was doing, so got in touch with her. She was thrilled to bits that anybody wanted to release the music, because they had never released anything. They never made any tapes or any albums. Yeah. And she was very sweet. And Louise had already passed away at that point, but Marion was still living in a home, and she had internet access, so we traded emails a couple of times back and forth. And I think the DVD Winnipeg Babysitter had just come out around the same time, and they had little snippets of Cosmopolitans, but not any full episodes, unfortunately, which I know they're out there, but just they haven't been shared yet. I learned actually Marion unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago, so I have to explain why I hadn't heard from her in a while, and it was just just to check in to see how she was doing. But which is sad, but I wish a lot more of their stuff was available. So much stuff from VPW days I wish was available.
It's amazing. I usually do a VPW show a year, and it's mostly Winnipeg Babysitter stuff.
The tapes of the VPW don't exist because I know the people who used to work there would constantly, they had to have a log, but they were short on funds, so they overwrote them all the time. Yeah. So the only people who have copies are the ones who tape them on their VCRs at home. So, which is really sad, and they'd be impossible to find those copies now, 30 years later.
Yeah, I know the Pollocks did a pretty good job of recording their own shows. They're still doing that, and
putting them up online. Yeah, they're still doing that.
Wow. They came out. Yeah, they actually came out with a COVID-related song recently.
Oh, I missed that. I have to go look that up.
But yeah, I got a bunch of their 7-inches. They're fun.
Well, what a great show that was. Mr. Donnie Lalonde was in this very, very studio. on the rockin'est show from Winnipeg, Canada, right here on Channel 11. Rockin' Ron Pollock is the name, the spinner of hot wax, oldie moldies, stacks and stacks, the Midnight Rocker, the Midnight Stalker, with nifty Natalie Pollock, who is somewhat of a rocker, a little on the mellower side, a mellow rocker. Right, nifty Natalie Pollock?
All right, Rockin' Ron, I hear you spin stacks and stacks of hot wax.
Another amazing show recently that we did that I just totally missed, and I had no idea even existed until I did a Manos only show where we played the soundtrack. That you had done a project.
Oh yeah.
Where you did Manos, the Hands of Fate, and you did a cover project, and it's bonkers. It's so crazy. Talk about that. That was
back in the Happy Puppy kind of peak days where I was. Yeah, the soundtrack had the movie was just about to be released on DVD and Blu-ray, I think, and there were some legal battles. But the guys who they said they owned the copyright, and they actually did, put up the entire soundtrack on Bandcamp and made it remixable. They put it under a Creative Commons license. So I was just like, oh yeah, what can we do with this? So I got in touch with, I just sent out the word of underground kind of remix, internet guys culture, and just put out the word. So it's hey, here's the soundtrack. If you guys come up with something and you want to send it to me, I'll put it together. And I got 2 volumes worth of submissions, and I think I used all of them, maybe except 1 or 2 that I thought were just not as good as the other stuff. But that was a long time ago. I don't even remember now. But that was basically it. Just put it out there. I mean, I'm a part of this remix thing called the Disquiet Hunto. Disquiet.com is run by Mark Wiedenbaum. I've been a member of it since about 2012. It's a weekly prompt where he just comes up with some sort of example. The first one that he did was record the sound of ice in a bowl and make something with it. Whatever you did was up to you, but it had to be done in 3 days, and then you just posted your track when it was done. And he's doing this every week since 2012. And so I reached out to that community and said, hey, here's the Manos soundtrack. Let's remix it and do whatever you want with it.
That's amazing.
And back then you could do that. I mean, I'm not so connected now, unfortunately, because closing down, a lot of the net labels have disappeared, I've noticed, because web spaces are harder to maintain. There's a lot of less free places to put your things unless you want to pay for it. Unfortunately, can't afford to do that. And then Bandcamp came along, and everybody put their stuff on Bandcamp, which is great in terms of it, being all connected, but it's not really yours. It's not like it's your website where you control everything, how the site looks and what's on there.
Yeah.
So, which is a bit of a shame, but I mean, at least that one way the music is still available, but it's really spread out and difficult to find unless you go searching on tags or you follow a particular artist or label. There's all sorts of weird stuff in there. I'm always amazed when an artist I know has put their stuff there. And one guy who was a backup musician or backup singer or something with Christopher Cross's band in 1982 put up a soundboard tape on Bandcamp and was charging for it. And I was like, but yeah, I mean, just weird stuff. And I just came across that when I was doing the sailing fill-in show, and I just went into Bandcamp to type the word sailing in to see what came up, and I found some really bizarre things. But that's completely random. You have to know what you're looking for to find it in Bandcamp, unless it's delivered to you somehow.
I'll ask a couple more of some of the other amazing shows you've been a part of. Of course, the rejected themes to the Hockey Night in Canada song contest is an incredible 2-part series that you helped curate. That's just I can't even believe. Please once again tell that story.
That was part of when I was in CBC and they were doing the Hockey Night in Canada because they lost their rights to the theme, so they thought they'd do the contest of hey everybody, hey Canada, write us a new theme, and then all the entries were stored on a hard drive somewhere, I don't know where. And then a couple of years after that contest had been done, I stumbled across some old links that I had saved from then, and they still worked. And then I thought, what happens if I change these numbers? And I changed the numbers on the URL, and new songs were popping up. And I was like, holy crap, does this? And then I managed to find the hockey scores one by going through the Wayback Machine and finding the original CBC story that they did with the kid, and that it linked to his version right in there. So I had the number for that, so I could get that, and like all new variations. I found out they just took the thing offline last year, was the last time I checked, just to make sure. And yeah, it's definitely gone. So I've backed it up a couple of times to make sure that I have a copy of everything.
Yeah,
but,
just in case I have them all too.
Yeah, and
at least a whole bunch that you released anyway.
Yeah, and there were big names doing that. Randy Bachman did one. Mo Burke from Pursuit of Happiness. Gowan did one.
Oh, the Gowan one's incredible.
Yeah, but a lot of them, like, I didn't even know they did them at the time, because there was just so many. There were thousands of them. And I wish I could have saved them all. I wish I was smart enough to write a program that could have trolled that entire hard drive and just said, download anything you find. Yeah. But I wasn't that good at it, so I had to do it all manually.
But at least curated ones that you had are just incredible. Just runs the gamut, and people telling them, people like the ba ta ta ba ba guy, and like the.
This is the submitted opening theme for Hockey Night in Canada. It's called Taka Taka Boom. Here goes.
He shoots, he scores! He shoots, he scores! He shoots, he scores! Hooray! He shoots, he scores! He shoots, he scores! He shoots, he scores! Hooray! Hockey Night in Canada! Hockey Night in Canada! Gather around our TV set and let's watch this game. Hockey Night in Canada! Hockey Night in Canada! Gather around our TV set and let's have some fun. He shoots, he scores! He shoots, he scores! He shoots, he scores! Hooray! He shoots, he scores! He shoots, he scores! He shoots, he scores! Go, go, go!
And welcome back to Amateur Hour here on CKUW 95.9 FM in Winnipeg, your source for the weird, the wild, the wonderful. Today, our guest, Lee Rosevere, who periodically comes on and does fill-in shows that are just amazing. We just heard a little excerpt from the Rejected Hockey Night in Canada theme song contest, which just, it's amazing. And we're about to talk to him about another great show that he did for us here on Amateur Hour, CKUW 95.9 FM in Winnipeg.
Another one that I just, again, fell down the rabbit hole that you sent, and I had no idea, and I had listened to this show before, and I had no idea you're the one who did it, was your Song Poems show.
Hello there, I'm Lee Rosevere, and thank you for joining me here for this new program, The Makers of Smooth Music. It's a show all about
the Smooth
poems.
Makers of Music
You might
show.
be familiar with song poems.
Yeah, I remember a couple of years ago I did that it was a Basic FM, I think it was an online kind of streaming radio that went under, and I just approached them and said they looked for a lot of experimental and kind of outside recordings. I did other shows that were one-offs with them, like one of them was soundtracks. It was a 1 hour soundtrack. Every show had to be an hour, so like one was half an hour of the original soundtrack of the original Solaris movie, and then the other half an hour was the 2001 remake soundtrack, just kind of back to gap. And that's like, here's a mix for you. Other one was like just anything I could come across that I thought was weird or interesting, and then the Song Poem show came out of that, and they said, sure, if you want to do that. So yeah, it had a very limited audience when I originally did it, and so I had to go through. I wanted to make them available, so I a couple of years after it was done, I went through them and took out all the references to Last FM and then put it up on archive, just so anybody could play them if they wanted to. And that's just like all the song poems I've been collecting, all the ones I got off the ASPMA site a long time ago. Yeah, a bunch of them were reposted on. I reposted them on the WFMU blog, and still there's Bob Peirce. If you want to look him up, he's got a Bandcamp now. He's just put an album out last year that's really quite excellent. I think you'll like him.
I'm William Shatner, a truly bad actor, whether TJ or the captain. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Do you like bad acting? Bad TV acting, when it's really, really bad. Oh yeah, oh yeah. I love the bad acting. Do you like bad acting? I'm saying it's a bad actor. Do you like the bad actor? Like Shannon Doherty and her they really chase. Yeah, I love bad acting. Tony Danza is a bad actor. Danny Most is a bad actor. Do you like bad acting? I love bad acting.
You might have played him already.
Yeah, I think I have. Our music director had a Bob Purse.
Yeah,
album
he's got it.
recently, yeah.
Because I had put one out on Happy Puppy, his first one, and then he wanted me to do another one on Happy Puppy, and I said Happy Puppy doesn't kind of exist anymore as a label. So he did it himself, but he still posts stuff on his blog called The Wonderful and the Obscure. I think it's called Wonderful and the Obscure. You can just Google that, and you'll find his song poem blog where he has been consistently posting song poems for the last 10 years or so. Everything.
Well, there's another 10 years worth of shows you're giving me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
man. Yeah. You know what? I'm so grateful for you over the years for help.
I'm
Like
very,
every
very
once in a
grateful you
while, I
asked me
think
to
I've
do
heard
that.
of everything, and then you come along and you always send something, and I'm like, I can't believe this exists. This is amazing.
Well, I'm so glad you asked me to do them or let me do them, because they're kind of like the alter ego of my regular radio personality. Gets to have fun and do whatever, like there's no mandate and there's no rhyme or reason to whatever. If I feel like posting, like if it makes sense to me and I can put it in a 1 hour format and you like it and you want to play it, that's great.
Yeah.
So I'll
And
keep doing them as long as you can, if you ever have like a space for them.
Oh, there's always going to be space for you. I mean, the one that you're giving me that we're playing. Yeah, again, you're blowing my mind with like what your approach was to like make a 70s adult contemporary AM gold type like show with all this music that I've never heard before. It's like everyone's trying to be Anne Murray. Like it's so good.
I was listening. I've been collecting a lot of stuff of a lot of CTL, Canadian Talent Library stuff from the 70s that it's not available elsewhere. It's only on vinyl, and so much just really neat kind of like library-ish music or all that 70s like easy listening stuff. I just love it. I was listening to a bunch of air checks by a guy named Carl Banis, who used to work at a station in Toronto, was very popular in the 70s. He was the narrator of the Raccoons TV show.
Oh my God. Yeah.
That voice, as soon as you hear it, you know it's him. And he did a bunch of other voiceover stuff as well. And his show there, I found a bunch of air checks on a website, and they're like an hour and a half, and it's just him. It's late night FM radio from 1979, and it's that stuff. And I just love it. Like he played 3 different versions of Mana Mana back to back and didn't backsell any of them. And I was like, what is this? And it's like, and then I have to like do research to find out what these really obscure songs. Some of them I have no idea what they are. The internet has no record of them because they're so obscure.
When you set the playlist, I kept looking it up because I wanted to post about a promo about your show, and I couldn't find any of the music. Like it was like the 9th song. I was like, okay, here we go. We got a promo for this because everybody knows this brass band, but that's about it. Like nobody, like all these Canadian artists, no one knows any of them.
All the Canadian artists are not on Spotify. And they were never put on CD. Half of them, like the Laurie Bauer Singers, had a few CDs in the late '90s, but that's it. Ben McPeak, who was a member of the Laurie Bauer Singers, he was their arranger and conductor. He had a number of albums. Most of these people are on the CTL, and I would love it if somebody who had access to the CTL library could re-release them all. Stephanie Taylor, she's an excellent. I love her voice. One of her albums got originally never released to the public. Only 200 copies were made and sent to CBC stations, and that was it in like 1970. And this is the first public release. And there are so many recordings like that. A lot of them were transcription CBC recordings sent only to stations, and then were released later, like a year later or so. And it's hard to find this stuff. I mean, when I moved to Charlottetown here, I found their record library still in their basement, and all of it is like CTL stuff from the 70s, and then nobody's touched it. So it's like, this is just amazing. This is like a treasure trove. I mean, I found KPM archive, like KPM library discs, originals.
Wow.
It's like, and a stack of them. And it's like, wow, nobody knows or cares what this stuff is. And it's like, okay, I've got my, got a job now. So like, I've been collecting and going through all the records and just thinking like, there's got to be a home for this stuff somewhere. And then I hit upon the idea of doing the show after listening to a lot of those air checks from Carl Bannis. It's like, wouldn't it be funny if I did something like that? There was another inspiration from it comes from Negative Land's old website a long time ago. They posted a bunch of demo tapes of radio DJs, like demonstration tapes from radio DJs who couldn't get radio jobs, and some of them were dreadful. And one of them that I remember was a guy named Sam Kessler and the SK Get Together, and he played like Helen Reddy and The Sounds of Our Times and some other stuff. And just his delivery was like, it's something about it that I don't like, but I like at the same time. So
it's so good. I used to have it. The Nine Villages hard drive, the weird cultural show I did before Amateur Hour came along, which we actually took some of that stuff. The hard drive died. I had a whole bunch of those tapes, digital files from that.
From the Negative Land site?
From the Negative Land site.
I think I still have them somewhere. I'll send them to you if I dig them out.
Also, before I go, sorry, there's just so much I want to just ask you. Mallwave, which is also one of my favorite shows I did this year, where I did Let's Go to the Mall show during like Christmas, and like I just made this thing where I'm going to places different times, because I found all this music from malls in the 1960s and 70s, but and it was like, what do I do now? I have to go into a different era. And then I found like your Mallwave. How did that come about? Because that sounds like you're integrating some kind of production stuff too, and like some field recording maybe, or
it's a field recording. It's of like a mall that I got off freesound.org, and it's all my stuff. I picked the songs that I thought would work best in a mall setting, and then I just EQ'd it so there's no bass, and then put a huge reverb on it. And because I saw somebody doing that on YouTube, they were taking commercial recordings like Toto's Africa and like taking all the EQing the bass off, putting a reverb on it, and then sticking it up on YouTube and said, hey everybody, I did a mall version of this. And then some people freaked out about it and thought it was cool. And then the guy started like taking Patreon money to do other tracks, and it's like, I don't think that's cool, but like you can't really do that, dude. And then I kind of got annoyed, just like, well, if that's all it is, let's I can do that with my stuff. So then Mallwave was that. Actually, Mallwave showed up in some podcast, like they just excerpted like one of the songs, because there's like a medley of 3 songs in every track, and I put the track list of what they are, but nobody looks at that. They just like East Entrance, and they think that's what the song is called, and then they credit me for East Entrance, and then use this badly EQ'd, reverb-filled version of the song. It's like, there's a version that actually sounds much better than that, but like they aren't using it. They're using this crappy recorded one.
Prefers the Mallwave version.
Yeah,
that's where we're at right now.
I guess so. I don't know if they prefer it or if they just don't know it exists. I have to call it Mallwave, otherwise people won't know what the heck it is, because there's a lot of that's an entire genre of music. Like people write original music and then put those effects on it and release it as Mallwave releases. Yeah. So it's a whole genre on Bandcamp. I mean, there's a genre for everything on Bandcamp, but that's how that one came about. And then I got 3 of my friends, 2 who live in Vancouver, 1 in Toronto, to do the voiceovers, because Vanessa, one of my friends, has a perfect, she does the mall announcements where like, hey shoppers, that's her. And I was just like, she's so good at that. And it's like, she could do that professionally. And the other 2 are just my friends at CBC in Vancouver, Roshni and Michelle, who are their voices are a little higher. So I thought they would sound like PA announcements. They have the perfect voice for that. So I got them to read those things. And then it just sounds so stupid. The whole project, when I'm talking about it, it's just so dumb. But I thought it was funny.
Hungry? Well, you're in luck. We have over 30 food outlets in our food court to satisfy any craving you might have. Even if you just need a coffee, it's the perfect place to relax and take a break. You can find it on the 3rd level, across from the water fountain. We're open from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Thanks for shopping with us.
All right. Take care, Lee. Be well.
Yeah, you too. Yeah, talk to you soon.
See ya.
Okay, thanks a lot.
And welcome back to Amateur Hour here on CKUW 95.9 FM in Winnipeg. That was the Lee Rosevere Show, checking in with our amazing guest host that has produced so many amazing programs over the years. His music's equally amazing. You can go check it out on his Bandcamp, LeeRosevereBandcamp.com. At a very reasonable price, you can own all of his tunes. So if you like the stuff you were hearing today, all this stuff in the background, it's available up there on the Bandcamp, so you can check that out. We're going to leave you with one of Lee's songs that's kind of reflective of his excellence for weirdness. Here's R2-D2 doing Smells Like Teen Spirit. It's a typical Lee Rosevere jam. Thanks for tuning in. Be well. You've been listening to Amateur Hour, CKUW 95.9 FM in Winnipeg.